Once more time, good evening, dear colleagues. Today I will have very interesting meeting, a very interesting webinar about intercultural communication. And this is the chance to analyze and to use something interesting facts about international communications, about different tips and about different difficulties which people from different cultures faced in our life. And I think that in modern world, it is very, very important topic when we are faced with wars and when we faced with different international conflicts, and it is very important to discuss this topic and to listen for real expert in this sphere. I want to introduce Anissia Becerra. She is a PhD in philosophy of language, polyglot. She knows about 7 languages. Anissia, please correct me if I'm right.
Okay. Yeah.
7 languages.
How about 10?
Great. Anissia engaged in different international companies and have great experience in communicating with teams of different cultures and different nationalities. And today, before starting and I give the floor to Anissia, I just wanted to note that if you want to ask questions, just raise your hand. You can interrupt Anissia. She's very democratic, like lecture. And it's okay for her to discuss, to stop, just her speech. And we can make it more interactive and like discussion session. So Anissia, now the floor is yours. Just briefly tell about today's plan, what we are going to discuss, and yeah.
Sure. Thank you very much. So please, you can stop me whenever you want. If you have some experiences that can be linked to what I'm saying, please talk. I like an interactive way of discussing together. So teaching is not just, one person talking and the other listening. No, that's not a good way of teaching and learning. So let's do it more interactive. I will try to talk in a very smooth and slow way. If I'm talking too quickly, please say to me, because sometimes I'm used to talk like that, and you want to understand the words. So I try to be as much understandable as I can. Okay, so well, we all live in a globalized world, you know that. And the contemporary business context is globally interconnected and interdependent, and you know that as well. International communication and cross-cultural negotiation are areas of increasing importance today because of the high volume and pace of global interaction and transactions. What are intercultural communication and cross-cultural negotiation? Well, they're not disciplines. They draw a very large field, and we will get into a very small area today. They draw a multidisciplinary area, a very large field, full of many different disciplines. So we cannot have a look at the general of this general field. We will dig deep, a little bit deeper into a small area of it. So let's start. Intercultural communication deals with cultural differences, but not all cultural differences. There are a group of cultural differences that can be a problem because they can give rise to misunderstanding, conflict, contrasts, or behavior that can be read as rejections or offenses. So intercultural communication and cross-cultural negotiation are interested in dealing with those kinds of different cultural differences that during a negotiation can add a lot of problems. You were a negotiator, and you know that when we are gonna take part into negotiation, we have a lot of issues and problem at stake, and we don't want to add new problem to that. So we want to erase, to delay, to avoid all those kind of contrast and conflicts that cost money, that cost a lot of pains, and then can harm or even damage or even fail a negotiation or a commercial, legal, or political transactions. So we won't talk about every kind of cultural difference in any context. We can talk about a personal environment, the way we behave with our friends and family members, but we won't deal with that. Today, we will talk about those kinds of problematic cultural differences in business meetings or working environments or commercial transactions or at a negotiation table, in public spaces. So let's start. So picture that. We are all CEOs and executives of a company, okay? All of us. I'm Sharon Stone, and don't laugh, please. And I'm the CEO of a high-tech startup dealing with cybersecurity. We all have been invited to take part into a great conference in Dubai. Dubai. So, and we know that that's great occasion for all of us, because in Dubai, we can meet colleagues, we can establish new partnership, we can find new, investors for our companies, we can sign commercial agreements, even find new jobs. We have to play. We know that we have to play our cards in the best way, because this is a great chance for all of us. Okay, so I'm Sharon Stone. I'm in Dubai, and I am gonna enter the main hall where I will meet a lot of executive and relevant CEOs. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? So I know, because I'm American and I have an American imprint, I know that if a woman enter a business meeting, she needs no third party to be introduced. I'm gonna do it directly. So I'm gonna shake my hands, I'm gonna make eye contact, and I'm gonna introduce myself by myself. I'm Sharon Stones, my name is, my role is, my company deals, and so on. Okay? And I'll try to do that in the best way I can, following the American business etiquette. What does it mean that? Well, I know that I have to assume a body posture that expresses self-confidence. So I'd be slightly smiling, and I'd be shaking hands with everybody. How? Well, in America, in US, and Canada, the handshake has to be a little bit energetic and strong, because you have to give an impression of strength, the resilience, and leadership. So the handshake has to be energetic. You don't have to shake hands like that, but to be that you don't need to crush other hands, but just to be a little strong. And you don't have to give just your fingers. There's people who give your fingers. That makes a bad impression, because it's like you were saying, well, I don't give all myself. I give just a part of me. So, and you don't give a wet hand, because a wet hand means, well, I'm stressed. I'm under stress, and I cannot control my stress, which is a bad quality for an executive. Okay, so I try to give my entire hands. I try to give a dry hands. I won't give only my fingers, and I won't give, a weak hand, because soft and weak hands give an impression of weakness, which is not exactly the kind of first impression that I want to give people, because I'm a CEO, so I'm not just, a waiter. So, and we know that in business or in working environment, your first impression is relevant, because the first impression lasts very few seconds, but if it's bad, it will last forever and ever and ever. A bad first impression will be remembered for a long time. And well, a bad beginning means sometimes a bad end. So I want to give my best. So I will do this greetings and introduction in the best way I can, following my business etiquette. Am I right? Am I doing right? No, no, I'm doing wrong. You know why? Not because I'm making big mistakes, but because I'm ignoring the fact that my business etiquette, it's not universal. My body language is not a universal language. And the gestures, the thing I say and the thing I'm doing are not universal. Different people have a different approach. Let me explain you. In France, for example, the handshake has to be light and quick. At most 3 seconds, but usually 2 seconds. Wow. And so it's not, that kind of handshake. In Italy, there's different kind of handshake, Maria knows. And there's a particular handshake that I saw only in Italy. It's called the sandwich handshake. Wow. Yes, the sandwich handshake is always acted by the senior, higher level executive to a junior or younger manager. How is, well, let's imagine 2 men, because it makes stuff easier. So the younger manager stretch out his arm, the senior executive makes the handshake with the right arms, and then use the left, which is free, to touch both hands and press them. So the younger manager hands is like a slice of ham or cheese between 2 toast. That's why it's called the sandwich. You know what does it mean? It means a warm greeting. It's a warm, very warm greeting. If the 2 men have never met before, this means, oh, I'm really personally very happy to meet you, because I've heard a lot about you. I've heard a lot about you. If they have met before, and if they know each other before, this means, oh, I appreciate you, not just on a professional, but also on a personal level. So it's a kind of warm greetings. Arab people do the handshake in a very different way. They love a soft handshake, very soft, but their handshake lasts at least 10 seconds. It's lasts a lot of time. Why? Because, can you see me?
Anissia, yes, this is new participant here.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So you know why? Because Arab people, why they keep their hands in a handshake, why they are shaking their hands, they say usually Assalamu alaikum, which means the peace be upon you, and you have to answer and wa alaikum assalam, and be the peace upon you. So there's a ritual, and their handshake lasts at least 10 seconds. So you know what does it happens in this situation? That after 5 seconds, imagine an Arab businessman meeting a Western white businessman. After 5 seconds of handshake, the white Western businessman thinks, oh my God, what's happening? Why he's keeping my hand? Why? It feels awkward, because he doesn't understand. This touch it's too much. It's too prolonged. What's happening? Maybe he's waiting that I withdraw my hand. And usually they withdraw their hands. And this sign to withdraw their hands usually is read by Arab people as a very, rejection. It's a hard, offensive rejection, as if you were saying, I don't want to be touched by you. I don't want to talk with you. Please go away. So your interaction, your commercial meeting ends there. Wow. And what happens with Japanese people? Well, Asian people are very different. You know what happens? Well, usually Japanese people don't touch, don't love handshake because they hate to touch one another in public situation. Some Japanese businessmen shake hands because they know that Western people do that kind of gesture. This is the usual greetings in Western countries, in European countries. So they do that. They try to adapt to our habits, but they don't like it at all. Oh, Maria.
Anissia, yeah, Maria raising her hand. Maria, do you
Yeah.
want to ask some questions?
Yeah, I have one question. Turning back to the discussion of Italian culture and I would say all the south of Europe. I have the concern because it's quite long that I'm living in Italy. But what struggled me a lot at the beginning that I had to shake the hands, even if you're going to supermarket and you're asking how much cost the vegetables. The person come to shake your hands. For us to shake a hand is something serious, something important. I mean, when I'm signing the contract of 100K or whatever I'm doing, but to shake a person who is selling to me, the apples or the wardrobe or some not serious stuff, for me it was a bit concerning. I wish to get some comments because still for me it's a secret for why for such small stuff and not so significant I had to shake the hands. Now it's becoming automatic. I'm shaking hands to everyone. I'm saying thank you, like we signed the contract for all the life. But what's the nature of it? Just
we will dig deeper into it. It's perfect. I have the same problem in Italy as well. I have the same problem, but we will dig deeper into it. Let me explain. Yes, that's very interesting. Let me show you how Japanese people, Asian people greet each other. They shake hands because they know that we Europeans do that, but they don't love to touch each other in public spaces or business context. They usually know they bow. They don't touch. If there's a meeting of Japanese people in Tokyo, they do not touch each other. They just bow. And they bow. Let me say, the degree of their bow depends on the rank and the level of the people involved. So if you're a younger manager and you have to bow to your boss, that's big bow. If you are, a senior executive and you have to bow to a junior executive, you just like a light bow. They don't introduce each other as we do. They take their business card, a corner in a hand, a second corner in the second hand. They bow again without looking in their eyes, of course. They give their business card in this way. And they are expecting you to take the business card, a corner in a hand, a corner in the other hand, make a bow, read the business card, and then reciprocate. Okay? So what usually happens with white Western people, when they do that, the Western businessman grab the business card, don't read it, because in Europe, usually, we don't read business card. We give business card at the end of a meeting, not at the beginning. We don't read it. We grab, touching the Japanese, which is awful. We don't read, and we put the business card in the pocket, usually on our ass, because we don't, okay? So if you can imagine, you don't read it and put the business card on your pocket, on your ass. It's awful for the Japanese, So what I want to say that In body language, we think that's a universal language, but it's not. Scholars divide cultures in 3 categories: low contact cultures, medium contact cultures, and high contact cultures. High contact cultures are cultures like the Southern European, Italian, and Arab culture. They are touchy. They touch each other a lot. These kind of cultures and countries think that the body contact, the physical contact, is a normal way of socializing. It's normal to touch each other. And it's a natural tool of the socializing process. A medium contact cultures like the North American, US, and Canada, or Central European like Germany, France, Switzerland, the Netherlands, where I worked for many years, they allow body contact under certain rules. You can pat, the shoulder of a person, but in certain occasion, in certain way, and certain rules. You know what, Maria, happens to me every time in Italy? Well, I was born in America and I have an American imprint. And even if I've been living in Italy for a lot of time, I'm different from many Italians. So I live in a very big city and I cannot get the historical center by car because it's closed to traffic. So I have to take a bus. And in Italy, like in many, many other European towns, at the bus stops, there's always a bench. In Italy, we have long bench, 5 meters long bench. So picture this, I'm going to take a bus. I'm gonna get the bus stop. I see that I have to wait 10 minutes. Okay, I sit because there's nobody seated in the bench, and I sit because I'm tired. And where I sit on a corner at the end of the bench, leaving the other space to people to come and sit. 2 minutes, an Italian woman arrives. Guess where she is gonna sit? Next to me, her leg touching my legs. And that's make me crazy because I don't want to be touched. I don't want to be touched. It's always like that. If I'm standing in a line in Italy, I'm queuing up, always someone touches my shoulder or my backpack, and never apologize for that. I always turn looking that, well, what you doing? But they never apologize. Why? Because this is normal for them. They don't feel they have to apologize if they touch you, because it's normal. In public space, touching, talking to each other is normal, but not for me. I'm coming from a medium contact culture where we can touch each other, we can even kiss each other cheeks and pat on our shoulders, but in certain context, not with everybody, not everywhere, not always, but there are also low contact cultures. What does it mean? Cultures that hate to touch each other in public spaces. These are many African and Asian culture. They won't touch you. And, I told you how, the Japanese people, they tend to avoid any physical contact. And sometimes when they are greetings and introducing themselves, they don't make eye contact. We think in Europe and in US as well, that when we are introducing ourselves and meeting a person, if we don't make eye contact, we will make a bad impression. If someone is talking to us and we look in another direction, wow, it's rude, it's awful. It's like you were acting, saying, oh, I'm not interested in what you're saying. I'm not interested at all at you. So it's bad impression. But their culture like the African one, where when you meet a person, you have to make a very quick, soft eye contact, and then you have elegantly to gaze in another direction, because prolonged eye contact is considered a very aggressive attitude. Wow. And let me talk about personal space in social context. What's personal space? We all need, as human beings, we all need a space around us. This is which can be different in personal and friendly context, or in social circumstances and environments. Let's say that a personal space in social context is the space we need with strangers, with people we don't know, or with working colleagues. The space we need to feel safe and comfortable. If you are in a public situation and someone enter your space without being invited, a sort of alarm starts, a sort of red light. You have a sort of automatic reaction. It's stressful when someone enter your personal space without any kind of invitation. You feel threatened. So we tend to think that everybody has the same personal space, but it's not. There are cultures like the Italian or the Arab ones, and the Muslim culture, many Muslim non-Arab cultures as well. They need just a small space. 1 meter personal space is enough. So I saw in Doha, Qatar, a typical scene. The Arab businessman come close to a white Western businessman, and come very close, because for Arab people, 1 meter space is enough. So they don't stretch their arm to shake hands. They just stretch their elbows bent, because they don't need too much space to greet each other. But he comes too close for the white Western businessman. And you know what's happened several times? That the Western people have a sort of automatic reaction. They step back a little bit, just a little bit, but they step back. And stepping back is considered in the Arab culture a rejection, an offense, like they were saying something, I don't want to talk with you. Don't touch me. Don't talk with me. I'm close to every kind of contact, So it's easier to misunderstand each other body language. And that's why Maria and I feel uncomfortable with the attitude of Italian and Southern European people, because they come very close. They are very touchy. They kiss each other even if the first time they met. Women, the first time they met in Italy, they kiss each other cheeks. And that's strange to me because I don't do that. And, I'm not a touchy person, but Italians are. And, when I want to be apologized for having touched me, I'm asking something that's very strange in Italy, but there are low contact culture in Asia, in Africa, where they need a lot of space around them. For example, Japanese people need more than 2 meters personal space. So you don't have to come too much close to a Japanese person, because these trigger a reaction, a negative reaction, They don't love to take each other. This is a scene I saw several times in Asia, throughout all Asia. Western people caress Asian children easily. It's a tender gesture in Europe, in even US. You can caress a child you don't know. It's normal, but it's a taboo. In Asia, it's a taboo. You cannot touch a child. Not even a pedophile do that, Not even pedophiles do that. It's a taboo. And let me make another example. Left-handed. In Europe and in America, we are used to left-handed people. There's a lot of left-handed people. But in Arab culture, the left hand is the dirty hands, the impure hands. Why? Because in the past, they didn't have toilet paper. And they still today, they consider toilet paper a very rude system, because every time they go to the toilet, they wash themselves. If you go in Arab countries or in a Muslim country, but of non-Arab culture like Iran, you will find a toilet and a small shower on the left to wash your intimate parts after. Okay. And if on the left, and you use to wash your intimate part, your left hand. So the left hand is considered the dirty hand. So in a business meeting, you cannot give the document to your Arab colleagues with the left hand because it's very offensive. You cannot give a pot with the left hand because it's very offensive. You cannot give a gift with the left hand, no matter if you are left-handed. This is like, it's like in Europe, you cannot scratch your intimate part and give your hand to greet someone. You cannot do that. It's very rude. But giving a paper document to an Arab businessman with your left hand is very offensive. So, our body language, it's not universal, and we can create embarrassing, awkward situation and even misunderstanding if we behave in this way. We think that we are doing our best, but our business etiquette is not a universal etiquette, So, and even in Europe, we have a lot of differences. I was in Oslo, and once I was in Norway, and my room was at the first floor, and I have to get the fourth because I want to reach the restaurant. So I went to the elevator, the lift. I pressed the button. Doors opens, and I saw 4 people, each on a corner. And I thought, oh my God, it's empty. Well, I rushed in. It was not empty. It was full for them because there was no space. I was told by a Norwegian, oh, how much are you rude? You have to go out. Don't see that this is full? I was so embarrassed, so awkward because I didn't know, So Norwegian people needs more than 2 meters space around them. And if you go to a bus stop in Norway, you will see a people on a bench, on the end of the bench, another people on another end of the bench, and that bench is full. You cannot sit in the middle. Even if there's a lot of space, you cannot. So we are all different, we are not all touchy and friendly. In many Arab countries, I saw male businessmen kiss each other cheeks. Oh, that's unusual. In no meetings in Europe or in the US, you see men kissing each other the first time they met. At a business meeting, no. But it's normal in Arab country. And in Persia, in Iran, Persia, at Tehran, I went in Tehran, which, and Persia is a Muslim country, but it's not an Arab country. I saw many men walking down the streets, hand in hand. What? In Italy, if you see 2 men hand in hand, you think they're gay. In US, if you see 2 men hand in hand, you think, well, they're married. But in Tehran, in Iran, men hand in hand just are simply close friends. It's normal.
Anissia,
Yeah.
Maria raising her hand. Yeah, Maria, do you have any comments or question?
Yeah.
Well, I have a comment and question. I mean, I was living in Norway too, and I was feeling great there. Nobody touching my cheeks just because they want to get it sad, and well, yeah. The fun thing about Norway that I had in Asia, I was telling some story that happened to me to one Norwegian, and by accident he made like, I said, "Don't worry, nothing happened. I mean, everything finished good." And in Norway, it means that I'm all yours. You're so fun. You're so interesting. I mean, I like the stuff that you're telling to me. And then I became used to this reaction. Well, my question is, sorry, maybe I'm running too fast, but looks like you continually repeating that there is no universal body language. But on another hand, you continue to repeat this weird situation that you, me, I think more or less everyone, we were due this culture misunderstanding. But do you have any universal solution, at least to avoid some big mistakes in these communications?
Yeah,
Maybe
sure. Yeah, sure, we have. Yes, we have. But let me explain. Yeah, sure. We have a lot of ways to overcome any kind of misunderstandings. Well, when you go in Norway, Maria, when you went to Norway, Maria, you had the time to accustom to a different culture. But in a business meeting, you don't have that time. You have to give a very good first impression, and you have to negotiate the best business agreement, and you don't have time. So yes, for sure, there's a solution. But let me introduce you another kind of difference, because we talk about non-verbal communication, body language, or eye contact. But problems arise more and more when we are talking. Verbal communication, well, we are all different. We saw before that scholars put cultures and countries in 3 categories: high, low, medium contact. That's body contact. But scholars put different cultures in 3 different categories: high, low, medium, context, which is different. Context, culture. What does it mean? Let's talk about low context cultures. These are cultures like US, Canada, Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Belgium, where at a business meeting or in a working environment, you can say what you want to say without any kind of problem. You can say what you want to say in a very clear and direct way without using too much words. So you can say, well, I do not agree with you. I have a different opinion about that. I believe that. That's normal if you say something that. You don't have to use too much word, and you are allowed to say you don't agree with other people's opinions. Is normal. Well, you know what happens in Italy? Well, a lot of times when we had business meetings, or, I've been working a lot of years as a journalist, when we had, the meeting with the editor-in-chief, a lot of colleagues say, Anissia, don't do that. Don't use that language. You are rude. You are too much frank. You are too much direct. You have to be softer. You are too aggressive. You have to use more diplomacy. It's not that I'm not aggressive, but I have an assertive tone, which is allowed to women in America, but it is not allowed in Italy, where you're supposed to use a softer tone, more formulas of politeness and kindness, you can say what you want to say, but in a more softer and indirect way. Italy, as Southern European, and I think a little bit Russia as well, are medium context culture, where you can express your emotions when talking, but you're not supposed to be too much rude and frank. You have to be softer in what you are gonna say. And there are high context cultures where you cannot say what you really think. In Asia, for example, in a business meeting, you're not supposed to say, oh, well, I do not agree with you. I think in a different way. You cannot. You are expected to show loyalty and faithfulness to your boss and your colleague. It's not important what you individually think. Not at all. It's important the strength of the team. So you have to adhere to what your boss says, and you are not allowed to say, I do not agree. Absolutely not. And if a business meetings, imagine you are dealing with Japanese to get a commercial agreement. Suppose that the Japanese are not at all ready to sign that agreement. Supposedly they are totally negative with you and they don't want to sign anything with you. They won't say no, never. They will say no without saying no. How? Well, they will use a very indirect way of saying things, an indirect, soft style, full, very formal, full of formulas of kindness and politeness. And you have to understand that they are saying no, not by their words, but their context. That's why the Japanese, as many Asian, are called high context culture, because it's not their words, but the context, because they use a very indirect way of saying things. And in Japan, as in many other Asian countries, you cannot use a very confrontational style of communication, which is normal in the US or in Germany. It's normal, but not normal in Asia. I remember that I was once in India, and India is an Asian culture. It's a high context culture. And if you say to an Indian employee, do that and that and that, he will look at you and say, they nod in this way, which means yes in India, they nod in this way. And they will always say to you, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. You can say even, you can ask, please go to the moon, take a stone and come back in 2 hours. And they will say, yes, ma'am. Because, of course, it's impossible. But, well, in US, an employee look at you and will say, are you crazy? That's a mission impossible. In Italy, they will say, I don't have too much time. I'm going out just right now. But in India, they will say, yes, ma'am, because they are not allowed to say no. They cannot say no. So,
Anissia,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Victoria raised her hand. Victoria, do you have any questions or comments about this?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I was going to ask about India because I had such situations, and I had an American customer who came just after Indians to our company, and he had relations with this Indian team, and he said the same thing. So we work as an American. He likes communication a lot. He was communicating with them several hours a day, explaining what he wants, and they all the time they were saying yes, 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 yes. And at the end he has got something that he didn't want to, and he had to come to us and to rebuild everything from the beginning, because of the misunderstanding. And even there is such opinion that Indians don't work as
No, it's not true. I know.
they're not professional, because Americans don't understand that they just behave in a different way. So you need to explain in a different way. But what is the way how you can communicate with an Indian? What you should do in order to make an Indian do what you want? So...
Okay. Yeah, in many working environment, these different communication style, low, high, medium context, can collide, can clash against each other. And yeah, I will pose you a question. Think about it. Imagine you are the negotiator in a multi-cultural meeting where you have two parties. A low context culture like the Americans used to communicate in a very direct and frank way, using very few words, and a high context culture like Indians or Japanese or Chinese, or Arab people sometimes, that are not used to be so frank, and they say no, but in a very indirect way without saying no. So you are the negotiator in a negotiation table with two parties, low context and high context. Answer this question. Before understanding what we can do. Who can adapt? Who must adapt? You have two parties. Tell me, in this situation, who has to adapt? What do you think?
Me, first of all,
Yes?
to listen to one part and then to listen to the other part and then translate it into the other language, probably.
So you do the effort. You negotiator, you do the effort.
Probably, yes.
Yes. And what about the party? Think about a meeting. You're not a negotiator. You are a part of one of those. Who's gonna adapt? You are one of the party involved in the negotiation.
Probably the one who is more involved, who needs more from this communication than the other part.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good answer. Yeah. Okay. Usually the party which is more motivated. If we want to sign an agreement, a commercial agreement with Indian people, because we need it for, it's vital for our company, we will try to adapt to their culture. That's a road. But think as negotiator. A negotiator always has to find different routes to get what she wants. So suppose we want to go we want to sign an agreement. As negotiator or as a party involved in a negotiation, we have to think and we have to organize different routes to get what we want, not just once. So give me another answer to this situation. I want another, yes, the most motivated, but suppose there's no motivated party. Suppose it's a commercial agreement, but there's no strong motivation to sign that agreement. It's a political negotiation between Israel and Palestine, and nobody wants an agreement, like just right now. Who's gonna adapt? Who's gonna adapt?
My answer is everybody, because
Yeah,
so we'll make
yeah.
one step ahead each other, so, in front of each other. It would be better, but in life we don't have.
Okay, everybody. Okay, this is the triumph of justice, really.
Maria also has
Yes,
very
that's the best situation. We all have to adapt, but it's unrealistic. Unrealistic. You know that it's not happening. I mean, not all parties will have the will and the flexibility to adapt. So, of course, it would be more just if everybody tries to adapt, but it's not gonna happen. Maria.
Might try. So probably who is initiating, who was the organizer, who offered this collaboration.
Yeah.
Because who was the first one to offer this collaboration? So he's a priori considered as the part most interesting in a conclusion of this agreement as an organizer.
The most motivated party, but the organizer. It's a good answer. It's a very good answer. There's a British saying who says, if you go to Rome, do as Roman do. So if you're gonna in Japan to sign an agreement and Japanese people are organizing the meeting, you, the visitor, has to adapt to Japanese customs. So this is another solution. We have to find many solutions, but this is a second. So we saw the most motivated party and the invited ones. Okay, so the organizer can stand because they are in their country. And you are the visitor, you are supposed to adapt a little bit more. That's another solution. Find a third one, because you're a negotiator. You have to find many solutions to a problem, not just one solution, if you want to be a great negotiator. So another solution.
Probably sometimes it's better to ask another party if it's okay for him, but you should know about this. First of all, you should learn everything and then ask if it's okay or not, because sometimes you can get to the situation just knowing nothing about some particular situations, like in the lift. So it's also not like something that will work all the time. I mean, I would ask another person if I can like shake, or I would advise it, but not like making somebody answer in the same way or before kissing somebody. Because also I was in Italy when I was a kid, and I was surprised when everybody touched me. So I thought, what was going on? Because the whole town wanted to touch me every time they meet me, like from cheeks, shoulders, and all the other parts of the body, and it was like so strange for me.
Yeah, to me it's really disturbing. Not so strange. I feel disturbed when I was a professor in university. My colleagues, wow, it's offensive to me. Yeah, but
It's humiliating, sorry, Anissia. I felt violated. I mean, I felt really bad.
yeah. But it's normal here, and it makes me crazy, really. But think another solution, Nadia.
I have also one variant. Perhaps we can create such kind of a paper, or like diplomatic protocol of etiquette, how we should communicate with each other, and before meeting we can, for example, sign that we all agreed to follow these rules, and it will be the best decision just to follow this document.
Yes. That is a good solution. Yes, there's something intercultural communication creates a sort of international business etiquette. So it exists really. It's in many MBA or master in management. They teach international business etiquette. So because the more you are culturally aware and culturally intelligent. What's cultural intelligence? Cultural awareness is the awareness that your business etiquette is not universal. And so there are other ways of communication, body and verbal communication. And cultural intelligence is the ability to get information and about the people you are gonna meet. So, for example, getting more if you're gonna meet Japanese people, getting more information about how have behaved, what's their Japanese business etiquette, and agree on an international mutual business etiquette could be a good solution. Yes, but there are think about it. Not all cultures are ready to adapt. That's the truth. For example, Arab cultures, Muslim cultures are quite rigid. Why? They're not flexible at all, because many behaviors are linked to moral and religious beliefs. So, for example, an Arab businessman doesn't stretch out the hand to a Western businesswoman. Rarely they can touch a woman. Businessmen are very touchy among men, but they do not touch person of a different sex. So if you are a businesswoman, you can have a lots of problem in Saudi Arabia, because you are not supposed to touch and to shake their hands with men. And they are not ready to change. They are not ready to adapt. Why? Because not touching the women for a man is not just a business etiquette question, is an issue of religious and moral beliefs. And he's not flexible. He's not ready to change it. So what the solution when this happens. When you meet someone who's not ready to change, who's not ready to adapt, who don't want to adapt, because their etiquette and their behavior has a religious meaning, and they want to delay that. What's happening?
Pavel, perhaps you have some decisions. Ludmila, do you have? Yuri also.
I'm totally agree with previous person.
Yeah. Okay, so I will say that sometimes no matter if it's the strongest party, but the most flexible has to adapt. And sometimes the most flexible is the party that has more knowledge. And having more knowledge and intercultural communication and cross-cultural knowledge makes you smarter. Sometimes it's not the strongest party who has to adapt, but the smarter one, the party who has more knowledge about international transactions. So if you're more flexible, so that means that when you are dealing with Arab people, you cannot expect them to change a lot. They cannot expect them to adapt to an international business etiquette, especially if they come from countries like Saudi Arabia, which is, very strict in ethics and religions. I've been in Jordan, and it's easier. Jordan, it's a very easy country, like was Syria once, but Saudi Arabia, Doha, in Qatar, they're very, very, very strict. So don't expect them to change or to be flexible or to use your business etiquette. You have to adapt. It's it's a matter of realism sometimes, So you have different route to get what you want at a business meeting. And as negotiator, you have to be aware that you have to prepare different paths to get a solution or to get a negotiation, not just once. You can agree about an international business etiquette, as Nadia said. You can be the more flexible party. You can adapt to the other. You have, yeah, Nadia, tell me.
Yeah, Anissia, as far as I know, Saudi Arabia, a very closed country. And have you ever been there?
No,
Yeah.
no. I was refused the visa, like in Tibet. I've been in China, in Hong Kong, but I was refused a visa in Tibet and in Saudi Arabia because at that time I was a journalist, and they don't want me to enter as a journalist. So yeah, I cannot get the visa. I was refused 2 times. But
Maria also has.
I've been in many Arab countries. I studied Arab culture 6 years with an Algerian writer. So I've been in Arab countries a lot. And every time I was in the Arab countries, I had to say that I'm a married woman, which I'm not. I never married, never. But I have to say that I'm a married woman. Every Arab country, even in India, I cannot say I'm a single woman without any children. I cannot say something like that, If I say something, every kind of interaction will be misunderstood, really. So it's, and I know that I make an effort to adapt, yes. And sometimes I had to lie. Maria.
I had a bit like kind of conflict of what you're saying, because it's a bit hypocrisy, because once Arabian comes to Italy for shopping and everything, they don't face any troubles to adopt to European culture, and they are not so restricted, and they forget maybe the rules, their own rules, and they're ready to adopt. So for me, it's a kind of double standards in these terms. Yeah. And a second part, when you're telling me this, I'm thinking that it's possible that it could be more in the past, because I know that in the last, 10, 20 years even, most of people from Arab countries, from the Asian countries, they tend to study abroad, and most likely they're choosing European or American. And I'm wondering if what you're telling me it's more than up-to-date information. I mean, they really remain like that, or young generation are more adaptive due they got their studies abroad. Because I was dealing with the Chinese, and what I was hearing about the business of old style businessmen, it's like what you're telling, but I was talking to the young, my age and even younger. I had never issue in communication, in setting agreements or whatever, something else. So I want just to hear. I mean, maybe it makes sense. Just a question to split by generation.
Okay, there's a difference in generation, yes, of course. Younger people who are very much used to live or study abroad are more flexible, but not always. For example, I met an Indian girl, Shilpa Sheetal, in Edinburgh. We were following a master in editing and as editors. And we became friends. And she was in Italy, and she was in my home for some weeks also. So we were really very good friends. And she was absolutely similar to a Western girl. She was younger than me. She now is in. She's I think 37 years old now. So she was absolutely Western. She was speaking a perfect English. She was, but once she came back in India, she married a man chosen by his parents. Yeah. So yes. And I was left, wow, why could you marry a man you didn't choose? You didn't love. Your parents choose for you. And you know what she answered me? She said, I'm happy. So what does it mean? That yes, maybe some communication can be easier, but don't expect even the youngest generation to lose their imprint. They don't lose
Their
their
traditions, yeah,
yes,
which are more stronger than modern.
you know, we are talking, the more we are becoming a globalized world on a commercial level. We are talking about local, the importance of local culture, because the more we are becoming globalized, many people are very much strict to their local habits because they fear to lose their identity. So yes, younger generation are very much used to international interactions. So, but the friendly environment where you meet young people, it's not the business meetings where people are more rigid. So we have to divide. For example, in Japan, they tend to separate the omote from ura. What's omote? Omote is the social side of every person and the rules they have to follow in social context, school, work, everywhere. Ura is the private side of many person. And I will tell you, Maria, that some culture, like the Japanese and sometimes the Arab, have a lot of hypocrisy in their behavior. That's for sure.
And what is hypocrisy?
Hypocrisy is they have a double standard. And they will say something they won't believe. So they will. Hypocrisy means that you are saying a lot of formulas of kindness, but you are not feeling in deep, in your heart, what are you saying? You're just saying because it's formal, because it's expected, but you are not believing in what you're saying. So in some, yes, in some cultures, like the Arab one, the Japanese, many Asian, also Chinese are like in this way, Indian, and you cannot be frank. You have to cover a little bit what you think and use a lot of formula of kindness, of, formalities and politeness and hypocrisy, not just diplomacy, something more than diplomacy, hypocrisy. Yeah. A lot of people have a double standard at home and abroad. But this is normal. Even German people, German people, when they come in Italy, they drive in the like crazy. They go 200 kilometers per hour in a car. When they are in Germany, they respect the rules and the speed limit in a religious way. And that's common. And Switzerland people, they put their cigarette on the street in Italy, but not in Switzerland. So that's human, the double standard, that's human. And it's yeah, probably the younger generation will be, because there's a lot of globalization means that you are studying abroad in a university where you are gonna meet a lot of students coming from a lot of countries, and you are gonna work in a multicultural environment. But it's not always so easy. Anyway, I feel embarrassed when Italians touch me, and I cannot change because it's my imprint, and if someone does like that, I feel humiliated, but they're not trying to humiliate me, and I won't change. It's, sometimes your imprinting is so strong that you cannot change it. Maria.
Yeah, just wanted to share my one really big adventure in Milan University. One guy during the election told me, literally, the fuck you're looking at me. I was just looking normally, not very straight contact. But I didn't know that in Italy it's normal to say to someone, why you're looking at me? What do you want from me? Imagine I'm from Russia, okay? To say to someone from Russian, like you're looking at me. It's the direct conflict, and it's the way, to close it in very rude mode. So yeah. Of course I answered to him as we do in Russia. I said, do you want the problems? And he said, what? I didn't say anything like that.
Yeah, sure.
But I say, but since what? And I opened this question between the students because I wanted to understand, since, I said, sorry, when university, since what time, since how it's possible that it's in university you telling to someone and you use a non-normative lexic to tell me in this way. I was not provocating you and something. So that's was a moment of confusing, and I hope that from that moment that guy Italian started to understand that how he is speaking with his friends Italian, he cannot deal with the foreigners. And if I'm just a woman, couldn't act very fast and aggressive, a Russian man or from Eastern Europe will act in different way.
Sure.
I hope that he learned that.
As I understood, according Anissia, I'm sorry. As I understood from this story, he, as Italian, he was like low culture, and you from low context, yeah, Anissia, according to you.
Low, high contact body, and yes, well,
and Maria is from middle.
Medium, yes, medium. But, things among young people are easier to solve. There's a lot of conflict, but they're easier to solve at a university, among young people. Problem are that in negotiation table or in a business meeting between adults, and all people. Things are much more complicated, you know.
Yeah, but Anisha, sorry, but I've noticed that in Italy, especially, okay, this is young guy, but even in a business on the business during the business meeting, I noticed that for us it's not acceptable to use kind of non-normative lexic. For us, it's unacceptable. I mean, it's shocking if we're not only friends, especially in the first touch, maybe in the first appointment. In Italy, they're using it just for joke, that's for fun. And in fact, the guy told me I was joking. I said,
Yeah,
what the
yeah,
hell,
sure.
the jokes you have?
Yeah, sure. That's a problem. In Italy, for example, they have a medium context culture. I'm considered rude and aggressive. Where I'm not, I'm just assertive. But they can, usually Italians say a lot of curse words. They say cazzo. Even in business meeting, bad words, we don't use it in a business meeting. I'm always like that. And I may say, wow, you just say scandalizzando, as I were, out of the word. But, it's all about different style of communication, and it's not always easy to find. I will read you a paper. It's an academic paper. It was written in 2012, so it's about 10 years ago, but it's still up to date. It's written by Ephraim Okoro, which is an African professor at the Washington University. So it's African-American people, scholars, but I think that what he's saying and writing in this academic paper can be acceptable for everybody. He says, multinational organizations are exploring opportunities around the world, demonstrating sensitivity towards cultural differences in order to gain from the proliferation and growth of international enterprise. Recent studies indicate that while some corporations compete successfully in the global marketplace, others have failed to sustain their competitive advantage because of cultural imperialism or inadequate acculturation in non-proper knowledge of their manager on international assignment. Corporate analysts argue that the key to global business success depends on effective cross-cultural etiquette and global workforce diversity management. Other significant studies emphasize that global managers should be trained in interpersonal relationship and group communication competence and should be equipped with cross-cultural negotiation skills. So, yeah, of course, I don't have answer to all your question because this is just a glimpse in such huge fields, but it gives you a measure, the feeling of how much we can be different and how many misunderstandings can arise from our differences. And you, as negotiator, have the task to build bridges where people can meet and talk and discuss in a safe environment. So negotiators are bridge builders and build bridges among different culture with different styles of verbal and non-verbal communication. And it's a very challenging task, even today, even with younger generations. So, what do you think about this?
Anissia, first of all, I want to express my great gratitude for your lecture, for your webinar. Thank you so much. And I also want now to hear some feedback from our participants. What perhaps insights you get from our today's meeting? Was it interesting for you? Please give some feedback and your insights.
So I would like to just answer the question. what I think about the note that you've read. So I agree absolutely, and I see how it's organized in multinational companies, because I've just joined one of the biggest international companies, and it's been like 3 weeks how I am still reading all the policies and going through the education, and they are literally educate how to answer the questions, how to raise these questions, how to make, for example,
Yeah.
I realized that I didn't know what is diversity and equity before. I just knew about it like in general, but they explain it in videos. So, for example, if there is a group of people who decide for a bigger group of people, they should invite people from different teams, from different countries, of different colors, of different cultures, and only in this occasion they can take really good decision. It means
You know
that
what? But these policies you were reading are exactly what Nadia was told. It's an international business etiquette. That's the policy you're reading. Try to establish some international rules that can be observed by everybody in a multicultural environment. So the policy and the education you are talking about are a tool to overcome cultural differences and establish a more relaxed atmosphere between people coming from different countries and culture and origin and even religions. Yeah.
And everything you were talking about, for example, American culture, it's understandable because United States of America, they were formed by different cultures. In why they have such, for example, strict rules about talking about, for example, politics, religion, races, and so on and so forth. So they just cannot behave in a different way. Otherwise, they will have conflicts every day with every person they meet, because they are so different. For example, in Russian culture, it's more common to speak to like hot topics, for example. Yeah. And I would say definitely that I find myself, I feel much better in this American company, this multicultural structure, because I am open and I'm direct, but I'm still learning to be direct, even.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
you have to be direct and to say what you think in a very frank way. But you know, in the US, you cannot send your resume with your picture. Because you say, because in America we are very attentive to any kind of sex, skin color, religious discrimination. So you don't have to send your picture on a resume, on a on a CV, because you don't have to be excited because you are white or Negro. Company, when you send your resume with your photo, that just put it in the trash can directly, because so we are very attentive with sex relationship. So there's a lot of rules about sexual harassment in companies usually, and to any kind of age related, sex related, color related, religious related discrimination. In America, you have the personal disclosure. What are personal disclosure rules is, if you want, you can say, if we have to use, which pronoun we have to use with you. You are female, male, or non-binary, which means that you don't want to disclose which is your sexual orientation. You can say, if you want, which is your religion, but you cannot say it. So this kind of information are not, you're not obliged to say. In Italy, they ask you, how old are you? And give me your picture, which is absolutely offensive. And in Japan, for example, when you talk with a friend, you can be asked things like, oh, how much do you earn? Oh, that's a very rude question for us. But in Japan, it's normal. How old are you? Japanese always ask you, how old are you? I'm not used to those kind of questions, but they do. So, yeah. So, you know, when you work in a multicultural workforce, all this attitude have to be, you know, molded to make people work together in a relaxed environment. So there's a lot of policies which are the sort of international business etiquette Nadia was talking before, because we need some common rules, you know.
Yeah.
But in America, you can be direct. But I worked a couple of years with ITT Sheraton, you know, Sheraton, the hotel chain. And I had an American boss. He was a younger, very easy, very, yeah, okay, go, a little bit of cowboy, you know, it's all, no formalities at all. But so you can say what you want to say, you can do what you want to do, you are free, but you're not supposed to make a mistake on your work. If you do a mistake, they cut your head. That's American rule. You know, so it's a very, you know, easy peasy. Everything is easy peasy, but you don't have to make big mistakes on your work. That's yeah.
Yeah, sure. And at the same time, I've never thought about it, but when you said it, when you said the story about the Indian girl who came back and got married, so I just thought what I do when I come back to my culture, my native culture, I do the same. So I adapt, but I cannot behave myself like this with my colleague, my ex-colleagues, and I try to be more like middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your original imprint, you never lose it.
Yeah. And actually I adapt. So in Poland, they also have a specific like their own rules of behavior, and so I see how I adapt. So I just come in, stay quiet, look what's going on around, and then after that I'm trying to catch what are the rules, how should I behave.
Adapt.
Victoria,
A smart choice. And being smart sometimes means being stronger. So the person who adapt to another culture is smarter and sometimes stronger. So you did very well, because being rigid and not flexible and not ready to adapt to a different culture, well, you lose the more you adapt, the more your mind get open and more open, you know, and you understand that we need to build bridges between us to understand each other. But to build a bridge, you need to do the first step. To adapt, it's a good first step. If you don't adapt, you won't build any kind of bridge where meeting other people, you know, because it seems it's not easy to agree. There's a lot of conflict in this world, cultural, political, military conflict. We don't understand each other. That's the reality. We would like to understand, but we don't. We make war in many ways, even within the same company, you know, people make war to each other. It's more easy to meet a, you know, it's more easy to get a conflict, to arise a conflict, than to build a bridge.
yes. Anissia, I want to just ask question. Victoria, perhaps you can share some tips about communication in Polish, some distinguished features. What have you, you know, like, have you matched for making your life easier and your communication easier?
I would say that stay away. Polish people are really friendly. They are friendly. They love children, because I'm in a situation when I'm not a Polish person. I come from Belarus, but I stay in Poland and I work in multinational company in American culture. So I am at the same time, I'm in three cultures, different cultures. And I know a little bit about Germany, Italy, because I've been there in the early childhood, France, United States. I've been in Dubai as well. And I lived there for a while. So not just like tourists, I lived inside the families and I saw how they behave. So I only now I understand how I gained these little pieces of different cultures. And in such a situation, I just adopted how I said, I just come in, stay quiet, look what's going on, try to know some interesting things. I try to understand the hierarchy. So who is the main person here? Who takes the decision? Who is adopting? Who, what they say, how they communicate, and then after that, I try to initiate my communication. But what about Polish people? They are really friendly, but at the same time, stay away. Don't touch them too much. So you cannot, they will help you only if they want. So you cannot, you can ask all the time, ask them if, could you please, and maybe you can help me. If not, just go away and try to find your way how to find out it. For example, when you come to doctors, they can be really rude, in my opinion. So doctors and all kind of government
Establishments. Yeah?
establishments, yes, they can be really rude with you, in my opinion, rude, because they just say something short, not professional. Very often they don't know what they're talking about, but they say just no. And what in this case, what should you do? You should find yourself the information. You should come with the paper, and I'm going to the doctors with the paper. I translate everything I want to say. I make notes, operations, how I feel right now, what medications I take, and everything should be sorted with a different placed in it in a smart way, and I translate everything in Polish. And even with good insurance, one of the best insurances in this country, I need to prepare really well, because if you have spent more than 15 minutes in this with this doctor, he will just say, go away, come next time. That's it.
Victoria, I also lived in Poland for half a year, and they have a very, very interesting proverb. Jesteś w Polsce, musisz mówić po polsku. This means that if you are in Poland, you should learn the language. You should follow the rules, and only in this case you can, be accepted to this culture and to this nation, to this country.
Yes.
So they are quite rigid, maybe because they are a very much Catholic country.
Yeah,
they're very rigid their behavior is filled with a religious belief. They're very much Catholic, so you don't have to touch their religions. And probably they are, very religious cultures tend to be less flexible and tend to ask you to adapt to their rules.
yeah.
And probably they are this kind of, I saw that sometimes, countries where the religious tradition is strong are less flexible, and they ask you to adapt to their rules. Maybe they are expecting you to adapt to their, even if we find that it's difficult for us, if we lived in a country or we visit a country, we have to adapt to their way of saying. And got even to lie, to tell lies about my personal situation when I was in India or when I was in Arab countries. I cannot say really who I am and what I'm doing. I cannot, because I will be misunderstood, you know? So sometimes we have no choice. Probably Americans are quite flexible because they are used to meet a lot of different cultures, but Polish people, no. They are not so much flexible as Americans do, you know?
I even decided to learn Polish because when you are learning language, you understand better the culture.
Yeah.
And when I can, in this way, I understand what they're saying. Sometimes I cannot say, though they know English very well. Even when they know English, they don't want to talk in English. So
rigid, yeah.
yeah. Sometimes I start talking Polish, they understand that no way, and they start speaking English because, but before I ask, do you speak English? No. So I cannot say that it's like, I like this country, I like these people, they're just different. What they're used to, it's, you just need to adapt to this and not to be like hurt by their behavior. If I would be hurt every time when I go out of my flat,
it will be impossible to live there. No, you sometimes when you build a bridge, you have to accept the fact that you build 90% of the bridge.
That's true.
I know that justice, for the sake of justice, if we want to meet on the bridge, we have to build 50% each, but it never happened. Sometimes you have to build 90% of the bridge with certain people, certain culture. And there's no other way. But I think that building bridges is the best you can do in life, because you can learn a lot of stuff. So the effort you are doing just right now will be one of the most precious things this experience will leave you. I'm absolutely sure about that. Even if it can be sometimes quite hard for you, but I'm sure that this experience will leave you a lot of stuff you cannot imagine just right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Victoria, for sharing your opinion. Perhaps, Maria, can you also share your opinion about our meeting today? What perhaps interesting insight you got from our webinar?
Well, I'm afraid I've been destroying your perfect picture of what you're telling. That it's good. Sorry, Anissia, I'm in bit in confrontation with you. In this case, I'm 15 years in immigration, and I think what we're discussing now, it's a bit two different levels, because once we're in business, and we, of course, if we're together in this room, we tend to find anyway the compromises and to find some solutions. In the situation in which we're in the immigration, and in case of Poland, Italy, and so on, we are in a weak position as immigrants. So already from the beginning, we tend to be this who is seeking the solution, that who is adopting. But my experience of 15 years demonstrated that, yes, I've learned how to fake it. I understand Italians. I know how they acting. I do not accept it, but I can fake to let them think that I'm on the same level and I got you. But not because I want to get something from them, but just to make the conversation shorter, to make everything quicker, and so on. I'm thinking that at the final, we always make the story of your Indian friend. I mean, we are going back to the roots, and I can fake how much I want and learn it perfectly and make it in an automatic way that I'm like Italian. But inside of me, I want to keep my identity. And after 10 years in immigration, I start to understand that, okay, I'm playing your rules, but inside me, I'm still Russian. I'm not ashamed that I'm Russian. And I started even to demonstrate it to Italian that please, hey, respect me. I speak already good in Italian. I know your rules, but if you let me live in your country and I've learned your rules, let's act a bit like in America. Respect me too, and do not respect me just because I'm immigrant. I mean, the war became global, and that closed mentality, it doesn't, you can't keep it. I mean, you can't stop it. You can't stop immigration. You can't stop the globalization, but just accept me like I am.
You know, I don't think that always the immigrant has to adapt, because this happens in countries.
This is the rules.
No, not if you go to New York, or if you go to Paris, or if you go to London, because these countries and this city are used to a melting pot and are used to multiculturalism. But Italy is a closed country, a little
like
bit
a Poland.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. You know, they are not used to see a lot of people coming from a lot. Italians, a close-minded person. Because if they go outside, if they go on traveling, they go on a, you know, on a boat or on a resort. They're not traveling really in the world. They are tourists, not travelers, and they are close-minded person. They're not used to multiculturalism. But if you go to London, when I lived in Paris, and it was because sure. So this happens in countries where they are not flexible, not used to meet people coming from it. Italian are quite racist. Well, we lived well because we are white, but if I were black, I would have a very, very, you know, worse treatment, you know.
Oh, Anissia, come on, they were asking if I know how to use computer. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, because I think the Russian people were in the caves just 50 years ago because they're ignorant people. But, you know, Italy as Poland are rigid cultures. They're not used to multiculturalism. They are not, because they have a low immigration of people coming from Africa. But Paris and London and you know, even Brussels and even Barcelona, they have a lot of high level immigration, and they saw a lot of people coming from all over the world. They are very much used. And you know, there's another differences, historical differences. Countries like UK, like France, like Germany, had a lot of colonies. Italy had no colony. So they have no people from, they just a very small space in Libya, but it was a fake colony. So they were not, you know, they were not colonies. They had no colonies. And people who had colonies, as a lot of people coming from all over the world. For example, if you go to Portugal and Lisbon are much more open-minded because they have a lot of people coming from Africa or coming from South America, because they had a lot of colonies all over in Asia, in Africa, even Brazil, in South America. So they are open to a mixture, a melting pot. Italians know, like Poland. So of course, building bridges with people who cannot understand you is challenging.
It's rejecting, yes, and more rejecting you. But turning back to the business,
you have to fake. You say you have to fake.
You fake it. But turning back to the business, if you're dealing with the Polish, and I was dealing, when I had to buy the goods from them, they're perfectly speaking English in written form, in oral form. I never was asked to speak with them in Polish. It's a miracle. So it's we're turning back on discussion of the hypocrisy, about the double standards, and about the faking. So my conclusion, if my feedback is, okay, we're accepting these rules. What a decision I took for myself. I accept these rules. I am faking it. But I wish to keep my own cultural identity. And what's doing Moroccan, Algerian in Italy. I mean, before it was like, oh, they don't know how to fake it. I now understand them. They want to keep the cultural identity. The question is, it's, I think for everyone, my biggest question: why so much is the people from Eastern Europe tend to adopt and to be curious, to absorb the foreign culture, to understand, to be nice, to be educated, to know how to talk to Italian, talk to Polish, and so on. But never we receive it vice versa. We never get back this thing.
Because of ignorance. Because of ignorance. No, yeah, of course, ignorance is the main obstacles to real, you know, sometimes we have to fake, yes. But you know, what makes a difference between you and most Italians that you know? They do not know, they're ignorant, you know. And knowledge is power. That's the difference, you know. Yeah, knowledge is power. And so you can fake and you can, you know, you can put yourself at the same level of Italian, but Italian can do the same and put at your level. That's a difference. That's a difference. So, okay, maybe you have a hard, but you know, as I said before, the more globalized we are becoming, the more we are tied and linked to our cultural imprint and our local identity. So that's why it's not easy, because yeah, many people don't want to delete their identity, even if they are living in a foreign country. My father, who was American, lived a lot in Europe, but he always said, I wanna die in the country where I was born. You know, and because he never forget his imprinting, and you know, so that's why it's so difficult to find a way. Sometimes we can build wonderful bridges. Sometimes we have to build bridges with bricks made of fakes, lies, and other stuff. Yes, sure. We are human beings. It's always imperfect beings, you know. We cannot do better than that. Yeah, sure. But we lived differences and the impact of differences. And what I want to say is that these are impacting our life, but they are impacting our business as well. So, well, we can put a lot of effort in our lives, but when we make mistake in business, we lose money, which is worse. So that's why intercultural communication, cross-cultural negotiation, a lot of, you know, policy that try to give us rule of a multicultural environment behave all the same. This is an effort to try to live together in a more relaxed way, not fighting all day. That's why, but this is, you know, a small part. Intercultural communication, it's made up of a lot of areas, and this is just a small part of it. Oh, that's my dog. We had a glimpse at a small part of it. There's a lot of other fields, for example, localization and transcreation. That's very nice and very funny. I will say you just let me 5 minutes to make you have a glimpse to a different intercultural stuff. You know that today there's a lot of multinational companies like our friends in Poland, American multinational companies that sells services and products globally, everywhere in the world, in many fields. You know, things of Samsung, Korean, Mitsubishi, Japanese, Coca-Cola, American, or you know, so. Today, when they launch their product or their services in the different country in different way. Sometimes they change the name of the car. Sometimes they change the color of the logo, even the design of the logo. They change their communication and advertising campaign. Why? 20 years, 40 years ago, in the early 1980s, there was no localization, no transcreation discipline, and no intercultural communication. So I will tell you just an example of what happened at that times. Mitsubishi Mitsubishi, you know, the Japanese automotive industry, launched a car, one of the first sport utility vehicles called Pajero. Pajero in English, Pajero in Japanese, Pajero in Spanish. Do you know that car? Mitsubishi Pajero? You know? Okay. Yes. Okay. So it was launched in 1981 and it was produced until 2021. 40 years. It was a huge success. You know, one of the first sport utility vehicles. But at that time in 1981, they didn't know intercultural communication. They didn't know any kind of localization and transcreation. So they call Mitsubishi Pajero the same, Pajero, the same all over the world. They launched that car with the same logo, same name everywhere in the world. And they didn't know that Pajero in Spanish, that's in Spain and in all of South America, means horrible things. Pajero means a person who is used to masturbating themselves every day, a sort of idiot, crazy for masturbating, you know. And they launched that car, Pajero, in South America and in Spain with this name. And it was a huge failure, you know. That, yeah, I can tell you hundreds of, you know, epic fails like that. So that's why we talk today of localization and transcreation of international communication and advertising campaign. This is another area of intercultural communication, the effort to adapt our logo, our names, product names, our campaign, our images and colors and everything to each country. We try to sell our product. This is another, you know.
Anissia, you know, I think that if our participants are interested, we can also conduct one new meeting to, you know, to discuss
they are interested.
Also this very interesting topic with, you know, like concrete examples. And I think it will be really very interesting.
Sure, we can do. Yeah,
thank you.
You have to tell me if you are really interested or not in dig a little bit deeper in these areas. And so I will wait for your feedback.
Okay, and I wanted to ask Ludmila and other participants, Yuri, Pavel, perhaps you can give your feedback about today's meeting. So a couple of words, do you like it or not? How many insights or new information you get? Can you share, please, your emotions?
Can I tell?
Yeah, Yuri.
First of all, I want to say, Anisha, you are a brilliant conversationalist, and it's nice to meet you. And I want to ask a small question. Could I do it? My question will be somewhat off topic for today's discussion. As we know, you are a multi-lingual person, yeah? And could you share what techniques you use for learning new language? I mean, the most valuable personally for you. Maybe it's reading a book. I see a lot of books around you. Yeah, maybe it's meeting other people or getting in the different countries as for you.
Anissia, don't answer. Sell this course. Sell this course to him. Don't answer to him. No. It's only payment, Yuri.
As professional marketer.
No. You know, okay. If you want to know, if you want to learn a new language, learning a new language is entering a new universe. You have to find the right door to enter it. I'm 2 years during the pandemic in 2020. I had less work to do, so I said, well, I wanna learn Portuguese, but not Portuguese from Portugal, Brazilian Portuguese. And I thought, well, I want to enter that universe, but where? Which is the door that can open me this language, this culture? And you know, I thought music, because I loved Brazilian music. I love. So I started to read the lyrics of every Brazilian songs in the last 30 years, and I was start to singing with them. And then I hired a Brazilian girl next to my home, and I say, please, let's do conversation, because the first rule is start finding the right door for you, and you have to exploit what interests you more. You are interested in I don't know, but start to learn a language in the area you are more interested and you like it, so you like, I don't know, high tech. Okay, start learning Polish in the high tech sector. You like, pet. Okay, but
I think
yeah.
I think if I take a Brazilian girl to my home, my wife will be disagree with that way.
Okay.
She will be cleaning, no.
Okay.
But,
Find a Brazilian boy. Why not? But you will have a lots of problem with your wife.
Anissia, where to take Brazilian guy? I want to take to learn
Yeah,
Brazilian.
yeah.
My husband will be super happy.
And the second rule, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Never be afraid to make mistakes. People, you can make a lot of mistakes when speaking a foreign language, but people will be very, they will be honored to hear you making an effort to speak their language. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to speak perfectly, because we don't have, we won't be perfect. We are human beings, so we won't be perfect for sure. So don't pretend to be perfect when speaking another language, and speak, because learning books or looking at Netflix is not enough. You have to speak.
Thank you for that.
Because if you learn, or if you see a video, this is called passive knowledge. But if you speak, this is active knowledge. So when you're learning a new language, you can have a wonderful passive knowledge. You can understand everything, but you can have an awful active knowledge, which means that you are not able to speak that language. For example, I have a good knowledge, passive knowledge of German, because I've studied German for 3 years at the Deutsche Institute, but I do not speak any words. I can say just some water, thank you. That's all. I cannot speak German at all. So I have an awful active knowledge and a perfect passive knowledge. So, so you have to speak without fearing of looking ridiculous or mistaken.
Thanks a lot for your advice. Thank you.
Yeah. And find something that you like. I mean, what's your passion? You are, a passion for plants? I don't know, pets, watch photography, I don't know. But enter a language from the side you love more. That's because otherwise you will be bored easily. You will be bored and you will leave your study easily.
Thank you.
Thank
Anissia,
you
for this very useful advices, because most of us, looking for enhance and advance our knowledge in language. Me, for example, in English and in Polish too. Some years ago, I was studying Polish. Ludmila, now floor is yours. Can you please share your feedback? Do you like this meeting? Please.
So, I'm sure you know the answer for this question. Of course, I enjoyed this meeting because I'm studying linguistics at the moment, and by the way, I kind of knew everything we were talking about. But what really what I really, really enjoyed is the passion of the speaker. I can see that you are interested, and I enjoyed all the examples, real life examples. And I think the key point here is everyone's awareness. Probably it's like it's possible only in some ideal world, but still, if the more people are aware of these differences, the easier it is for them. So yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you, Ludmila. Pavel, are you with us? Can you switch on your? Oh, thank you.
Yes. First of all, many thanks to Anissia for sharing her insights. They were useful. Probably the most I like the idea that being more intercultural educated or more intercultural aware helps us to be more relaxed, and probably helps us achieve more in our communications. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. Now I will stop our recording.